Welcome to an extra episode of Money Majlis, the show where we explore the many ways money, creativity, technology, and ambition come together to shape extraordinary lives. Today we are stepping a little away from balance sheets and banking apps and entering a world of music, a world of beats, of melodies, and of magical collaborations. In earlier episodes of Money Majlis Extra, I've covered films, books, sports, education, culture, and sustainability. Today's episode is about music, one of my most favorite things in the world. Yet, in many ways, our conversation today is still about the same core themes we always discuss on this podcast: vision, risk, reinvention, entrepreneurship, and building a legacy that outlives you. Today, I'm in Kolkata, India, my home city, and my guest is someone who has pushed the boundaries of Indian rhythm, taken the tabla to global concert halls, film studios, and fusion stages, and shown that the classical artist can also be a bold innovator and a savvy entrepreneur. From the rigor of traditional riyaz to Grammy nominations, from Kolkata's cultural warmth to the world's biggest stages, his journey is a masterclass in both art and strategy. If you care about creativity, if you're building anything of your own, be it a startup, a career, or a personal brand, this episode will speak to you. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the fascinating rhythm universe of Maestro Bickram Ghosh. But first, a quick commercial break.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Saxo Bank, the trusted European bank helping you make better investment decisions.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Network International, the leading digital payments technology company in the Middle East and Africa.
Money Majlis is proudly supported by Aqua Now, the premier crypto-as-a-service provider, now building in partnership with the top financial institutions in the Middle East. Discover more at aquanow.com.
Money Majlis is brought to you by E&, a global technology group. Money Majlis is proudly sponsored by WealthBricks Capital Partners Limited, the trusted, independent, and expert wealth management firm.
My guest today, Bickram Ghosh, is one of India's most celebrated tabla maestros and composers, and a true pioneer of Indian fusion music. Trained in the classical tradition and inspired by legends, he has spent decades reimagining how Indian rhythm can speak to contemporary and global audiences. His work spans an astonishing spectrum from intimate classical concerts and experimental fusion projects to blockbuster film scores and international collaborations. Bickram has performed at some of the world's most iconic venues, collaborated with towering figures of music and cinema, and helped bring Indian rhythm into conversations about world music and global soundscapes. His projects have garnered critical acclaim, commercial success, and prestigious recognition, including the Sangeet Natak Academy Award in 2023, 3 Oscar contentions, and Grammy nominations that place him firmly on the global map of contemporary Indian musicians. In fact, he has recently been appointed as the artistic director of music at the famed Venice Biennale. At the same time, he has built a life and career deeply rooted in Kolkata's cultural soul, working closely with filmmakers like Girish Malik and Arindam Sheel and many others to shape a fresh musical language for modern Indian cinema. He founded the band Rhythmscape in 2002 and is co-owner of the music label Eternal Sounds. What makes his journey particularly compelling for our Money Majlis audience is that he has done all this not just as an artist, but as an entrepreneur, thinking consciously about brand, business models, ownership, platforms, and legacy. Bickram, it's a real pleasure to have you on Money Majlis. It is such a privilege to record this podcast sitting in Kolkata, India, your hometown and mine, right in your music school, NAD. Bikram, tell us about your day today. What's a typical day in your life, Bikram? And tell me, what did you record today?
Well, thank you, Shubho, for having me on your wonderful show. I've heard a lot about it, and it's great to be here. My day, if it isn't a concert day, if it isn't a day of travel, normally begins at about 6:30 in the morning, and I make my own coffee. I go up to a room which I have on the roof of our house, where I sip my
Of your
coffee,
beautiful house, yes?
and then I tend to do my compositional work early in the morning. If there's a melody to be made, if there is a project to be addressed, I do that, sipping my coffee. And then after a while, maybe an hour or so, I head out to go to Tollygunge Club because I live in Kolkata, and Tollygunge Club is a haven for
Absolutely.
Calcuttans. And I go there, and we're a bunch of creative people there who hang out in the morning. We have our first cup of coffee, and then
And what's called Adda, right?
it's called Adda. Yes, of course. And then I step into the gym, and about 40 minutes of gymming. Then out of there, and I go to my studio, which is on Southern Avenue, and I start work. I record every day. I've recorded literally every day in the last 20 years now. And thereafter, the day having been spent hopefully well, I head back home, and then evening I spend time with my family. And if there's somewhere to go, we go out, and that's it. It's a simple day, not complicated, but too much noise and rush. I like to keep it that way. What I recorded today, well, two things actually, two interesting projects going on. One, uh, the Calcutta Times 25 years theme track. I recorded that today. Very interesting track where I collaborate with a rapper, and uh, I composed the track. It's been written in Bengali and English, and well, end of the day, everybody really liked it, so I'm happy. And the other project I worked on is for the closing ceremony of the North American Bengali Conference, which I'm composing, and that has been completed as of today.
What a variety, Bikram. But let me start at the very beginning. When you look back at your early years, Bikram, of riyaz and training, what were some of the most formative disciplines or lessons that still guide you every single day?
Okay, so my I need to talk about my childhood a little bit for you to understand
Yep.
what the pressing challenges were.
Hmm.
I was born in Kolkata, but I was 1 year old when I was taken to America, where my father and my mother were both teaching at the Alibur College of Music in California. And there, we lived there till I was almost 6 years old. So my most formative years were in California. But then I came back in an early 1970s Kolkata, which was not an easy transition
Yeah.
because life in California and life in Kolkata in the early 70s was as far a stretch of imagination as you can possibly think of.
Yes.
So it was a big challenge, and it did affect uh, my personality. I used to be very extroverted in America. I came back, became introverted because I couldn't speak the language, Bangla, and I learned it here. I did not learn it in America. So then I went to a school, very well-known school here called Martiniere for boys, where the school upbringing was also very Western. There was almost no Indian classical music, no Indian anything. And in fact, we had a band called Satellites there where I was the conga player, much to my father's disappointment, he was very unhappy that I was doing all of that because he wanted me to play tabla, and that's all he wanted. And my mother being a well-known singer, Sanjukta Ghosh, father being the great doyen of the tabla, Pandit Shankar Ghosh, they wanted a certain kind of child, a certain kind of son who was going to be an Indian classical musician. And I was being trained in that direction quite heavily by my father. That started actually when I was 2 years old and in America. So my father, as the story goes, suddenly decided to come back to India. And the reason that he gave later on was that I had started calling him dad.
Oh, really?
And he felt that my son who calls me dad will not be a classical tabla player.
Mm.
So we came back to Calcutta, and the rest, as I
And you were
told
the
you,
only son.
I'm the only child.
Correct.
So there in La Martiniere, I was growing up to be again very westernized. But from La Martiniere, I used to walk down to Balu Haqqaq Lane, which was Munawar Ali Khan Sahab's house, Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab's son, the great Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab. And my mother used to learn from Munawar Khan Sahab. So I used to go there, and a complete change of milieu, from doing Rolling Stones covers in La Martiniere to coming into Kinare Kinare and Ayana Balam in Munawar Khan Sahab's house and playing Theka there in my school uniform. Coming back home, learning tabla, but studying in La Martiniere, then St. Xavier's, then I did a master's in literature. So there are a lot of juxtapositions in my life. I think that's what really created the me that you see today. So now it's important to understand what was expected of me. My father expected me to be a world-class tabla player. My mother, being from a very highly educated family, expected me to be at least a master degree holder, in any subject, and that turned out to be English. 6:30, the school bus used to come. 5 o'clock, my father would wake me up and set me down for practice at 10 past 5. And I would have to practice till, say, 6:15. And in 15 minutes, I would quickly get ready, eat something, and rush to the school bus. So this was in itself a challenge, and I protested because I would have to wake up way earlier than my friends.
Correct.
And I would have to work much harder. Then I would come home, study, again practice. So my life was not like that of my friends. And I wouldn't get to play games. Father didn't want me to play games in school. In case my hand was hurt, I couldn't play. So all of these were challenges. And that discipline, I rebelled against that quite a bit. Then why should I get up at 5 in the morning? But much later in life, I realized that very discipline was what gave me an advantage over a lot of people in my profession, because I was geared to be disciplined, and that's what I am even today. My whole day is charted out into 1 hour, bits, and I know how to make them a whole at the end of the day.
Bikram, you had the rare privilege of learning at home from the legendary Pandit Shankar Ghosh, your father.
Yes.
What were the most important things you absorbed from him, not just as a musician, but also as a human being, things that, carry into your work even today?
Lovely question. First and foremost, as I told you, is the discipline. He instilled discipline in me. Second, I learned to feed off his passion. He was a very passionate man. He loved his music. He loved to live life in a way which was king size. And he really believed that a life which was rooted and at the same time fearless was the best breeding ground for artistry. And that I imbibed from him. Then I also imbibed from him a certain fearlessness when it came to taking risks, because my father had taken a lot of risks in his career as a tabla player, as a composer. I have done the same as well. I took a hiatus from playing classical tabla when I was playing with the great Ravi Shankar Ji. And I didn't play classical tabla professionally. I did play it privately for about 7 years because I changed my sustenance to fusion music, world music, and then film scoring, etc. And came back to classical playing after about 8-10 years. Those kind of risks you don't take, because I was playing with the greatest man in the business and I was earning a lot of money by musician standards.
Yeah.
But that's something I learned from my father as well.
Risk-taking.
Fearlessness, yes.
But tell me, of course, you grew up in a deep classical tradition and you became a flag bearer of fusion and experimentation. Was there a particular moment while you're playing with Ravi Shankar or before when you realized that I have to break the mold and find my own sound? When was that?
That started happening in the late 90s. So as I told you, my growing up years were a juxtaposition of sorts, where I was this classical artist, training to be this classical artist. At the same time, I was going to La Martiniere for boys, and we were singing covers for Beatles, Rolling Stones, Bee Gees, and what have you. And then I was a huge fan of R.D. Burman, Panchamda, and Kishore Kumar, and I would listen to every single song, and I still do.
Hmm.
Every day, I have a R.D. Kishore listening session for myself in the
Hmm.
morning,
Hmm.
and so all these influences were uh, were there sitting inside me, but I was only realizing one of them. I was only realizing the Indian classical part of my being.
Hmm.
And I started feeling in the late 90s that there was more,
Hmm.
that I could maybe become a composer, maybe I could collaborate more, create different kinds of music, work with jazz artists, work with folk musicians, etc.
Hmm.
And I was moving slowly in that direction when one chance meeting with Zakir Bhai in 1998,
Hmm.
uh, he basically sat me down in Los Angeles for 4 hours and gave me a lecture on how he felt that I was, I had an ambit of talent.
Hmm.
That's what he felt. He said that, you're not just this, you are more. And if you do not address that now, it'll be too late and you will become frustrated.
Hmm. Hmm.
So late 90s was when I started thinking I want to create a new sound, and that's when the seeds of rhythmscape were born in my head, the fusion sound. And those days it was something completely new. I mean, there had been Shakti in the 70s,
Correct.
but then there was a huge gap. And when rhythmscape came and it hit the CD racks in India, it stayed on the CD charts for 10 years,
Hmm.
straight 10
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
So that gave me a completely new career.
Hmm.
And I think that's what really became the game changer. And I started feeling the need to do that in the late 90s because I felt there was more. And if I didn't address it, I would be incomplete as an artist.
And Bikram, fast forward to today, when you straddle pure classical concerts and cutting edge fusion, how do you personally draw the line between respecting the grammar of the tradition and then taking creative liberties needed to excite new, younger, global audience?
That is a superb question, actually. And I would love to answer that. You see, you develop a split personality.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that your audience kind of expects you to be in a box.
Mm.
There was a lot of criticism in the early days when I started doing fusion music because I had
Mm-hmm.
played with the greatest. I was playing with Ravi ji for so many years,
Yeah,
Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, Amjad Ali Khan Sahab, Shiv Kumar ji, all the tops.
yeah.
And to suddenly change gear and get into fusion music, and I changed the way I looked, and I grew my hair, I was wearing Lennon glasses, got myself a goatee. Ravi Shankar ji had told me when I got myself a goatee that he absolutely hates it because he said ki there is no, have you seen any Indian classical musician ever have a goatee?
Hmm.
And yes, I was the first one to keep a goatee. And I had to convince him with a lot of support from Sukanya ji and Anushka
Hmm.
that Bikram looks good, please allow him to keep it. And so there were those struggles, but then I did feel that this was the natural course
Hmm.
that needed to be taken, and eventually being able to express myself that way in spite of the criticism, I think gradually people realize that this guy is able to be pure Indian classical musician. And uh, mind you, I am one of the very few tabla players who is trained in both the North and the South
And the
Indian
Carnatic
tradition.
music, yes,
So
yes.
I studied from Pandit Shankar from the age of 13,
Hmm.
and I played with all the Carnatic greats. Balamurli ji used to come to Calcutta often without a mridangam player because
Hmm.
he said Bikram is there, he'll play instead of a mridangam.
Hmm.
So that level of classical artistry, having been achieved and having created a reputation for, when I started doing my fusion work, the classical world criticized,
Hmm.
and they felt that I was not adhering to the purity of the music in the fusion shows.
Mm.
But then I was very particular to see that the fusion avatar was completely different from the one in the classical setting. So even today when I play a classical concert, there is no body drumming, there is no hand sonic, there is no cheek drumming, there is no, so to say, hanky-panky. I just keep to the purest format. And I have earned my respect there. And people know that this guy has his chops and he knows how to play North Indian or Carnatic, and he can play the highest order of pure classical music. So it takes time. You see, Shubho, what happens is when you are on a journey which is avant-garde, you have to be ready for the big bats.
Yeah.
And there comes a time, like Malcolm Gladwell said, the tipping point.
Yeah.
When suddenly something flips. And then they suddenly say, oh, wow, no, he's good at that and at that and at that. And then came the film career. And then they were like, what training do you have in cinema? A lot of the cinema people started saying, he doesn't have any training in scoring for film. Why is he doing all these movies? But then I was giving hits and people liked the work I was doing. And so I think it's also the ability to take the brickbats and to rewire your brain at every juncture.
Amazing, amazing. Bikram, you had the privilege of working closely with Pandit Ravi Shankar, probably the biggest doyen of Indian classical music ever.
Yes.
What were the most powerful musical and life lessons you absorbed from him?
Can I start with a life lesson?
Sure.
It was 1995. We were in Japan. I had gone on my first ever trip abroad in 1989, as in professionally, with my father to Japan. And on that trip, I was unable to eat anything because we were in a small town called Shirahama, and the food there was traditional Japanese, and much of it was not cooked.
Yeah.
And for a Bengali boy,
It is difficult.
very difficult. Yeah. Circa 1995, I'm with Raviji again in Japan, and we're sitting for a very high-end dinner with the ambassador, and a lot of Japanese people were there, and it was a sit-down, sunken kind of table. And they served us all this traditional Japanese food, which was at best marinated, and I was hesitating to eat. And Raviji was sitting next to me, and he looked at me and said, I know you're hesitating, but I want to say something to you today. He said to me, and his words still ring in my ears, He said to me, Bikram, if you want to be a musician who goes across cultures and beyond borders of, cultural milieus, you have to learn to accept other cultures. And the greatest way you can accept another culture is to put the food of that culture in your mouth. That is the greatest acceptance. So today, if you do not put this food in your mouth, you are rejecting your own possibility to become a global citizen, musically, artistically. It just snapped something in my brain.
Okay.
I immediately took, I can't remember what I took, but probably an octopus, and I put it in my mouth. And that was it. Later on, I became quite a connoisseur, I still am, of Japanese food.
Really?
I can eat as fast with chopsticks as I can eat with my hands. And so Raviji helped me.
That's
My
amazing.
brain just snapped, So that's the
Life lesson.
life lesson.
Yeah.
The other one is actually also a life lesson, but is through music. The year was 2000 and he was 80 years old. We were performing in Nehru Center in Mumbai, and he was very, very sick that day. He had some tremors in his heart. He was on heavy medication. So he went on stage. Everybody was there that day, from Lata Mangeshkar to Asha ji, Hari Prasad ji, Birju Maharaj ji. Everybody was in Bombay, and they all came. And Ravi Shankar ji hit the first note, and it was not in tune. And he just, for a second, he stuck his tongue out. And my heart stopped. The second note he played was again out of tune. And then that's when this surreal lesson began. He put his sitar down and always when he used to play, he had his uh, instrument box, his wire box, the strings, the string box
Yeah.
of the sitar was in front of him,
Hmm.
and he used to keep it open. And on the front face was his Guru Alauddin Khan Sahib's photo,
Okay.
and some photos of some religious Tat Baba and people he used to believe in. He sat, he put the sitar down, and he shut his eyes. There was
Hmm.
pin drop silence in the hall. He must have been that way for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Nobody talked.
Really.
And my heart was beating and how.
Hmm.
Then he opened his eyes,
Hmm.
he picked up his sitar, and he looked at me. Something had completely changed in his eyes. He went on to play one of the best concerts I have seen him ever play in the 12 years that I accompanied him.
Hmm.
So I have a theory for what I think he did. He aligned himself.
Hmm.
This alignment was mind and body alignment.
Hmm.
And he drew upon a spiritual power. And he did this. This is one lesson in music, to be aligned spiritually, to be aligned with your body and mind,
Hmm.
that I learned that day. Another one is an incident in Taipei.
Hmm.
15,000 audience in Taipei. I was shocked to see this. I didn't realize that anybody would come to listen to Indian classical music in Taipei.
Hmm.
15,000 gymnasium full. When he's going on stage, he says to me, Bikram, we're going to change the format of the show because they don't know Indian classical music. So we'll start with a gut and we'll do some dhamaka in the beginning.
Hmm.
So we played a gut in a cycle of 7 beats, and we really kind of jammed,
Hmm.
sawal jawab, etc. And it was very exciting, and the whole audience went ballistic. They were literally screaming, "Wow, brilliant!" etc., etc., and clapping. Then he takes the mic and says to the audience, "So, did you like the music? Oh yeah, it was brilliant, fantastic. So, will you trust me then?" Now here I'm like, "What is he talking about?" They said, "Yes, sir." There were little hisses and whispers. He said, "Close your eyes." 15,000 people, eyes shut.
Hmm.
Then he plays an alap
Hmm.
for 12 minutes. When they open their eyes, they applaud just as much as they applauded when we were jamming and making that exciting piece of music.
How interesting.
Then he takes the mic and says, "Now I hope you understand that Indian classical music is just as exciting as it is spiritual."
Wow.
This is why he was India's ambassador for music.
Hmm. Tell me, Bikram, that's a very interesting segue for me to ask you this question. And I always wondered how much spirituality is there in classical music? When you play classical music, people say you go closer to the powers that be, to God, whatever you believe in. Does that happen often to you on stage? Or is it a rare occasion when it happens?
I will speak personally
Hmm.
because to each his or her own, because there are people who I know do not feel that spiritual connect or urge,
Hmm.
and they don't think it's necessary. I know a few people who we've had those conversations, but there are a lot of people who may get a slice of that in the concert,
Hmm.
but are not necessarily aligned to that in their own lives.
Hmm.
But for me, through a series of incidents in my life, I realized that, there is a power, and you can call it anything you like. It's
Hmm.
your call, really. But it is, I like to think it is spiritual and not so religious. But yes, of course, there have been moments on stage. What happens is when you're in the middle of a concert where you are aligned, as I described with Raviji,
Yep.
you forget who you are.
Hmm.
You forget what you ate, who you are, what your name is, what you're going to do after the concert.
Hmm.
You are in this vacuum.
Hmm.
In that moment, it is just the music. Even you are not there. That is a meditative state. And
Hmm.
because our music is improvisational,
Hmm.
and it is not as if you are referring to a sheet of paper
Hmm.
and looking at it and playing from, the paper.
Hmm.
you are required to summon all your abilities in that moment. And the concentration is so high that you simply forget who you are. And I think that state of nothingness is spirituality.
Amazing. Hmm. Let's change topic to collaborations. You've done a lot of collaborations with absolute legends, right? From classical
Yes.
maestros to global icons. My question is, take us inside the room when a collaboration is happening and tell us what makes it work just beyond talent. How important is listening? How important is ego management and cultural sensitivity when you're working, with legends? You are one yourself, but the others on stage with you, and you're crossing genres and borders.
First and foremost, you must be able to harness your ego.
Mm,
The ego is not a bad thing by itself
mm,
because the ego is what drives you to perfection. But you must know how to control it. And when you are with another musician or more than one person who is also, at a very high end in his or her skill, then you must allow a space for that person to be comfortable and to kind of take the baton forward.
mhm,
That is how you create chemistry.
mm,
Without chemistry, a concert or a recording does not come out to be anything memorable.
mm,
So you need to know when to step up and when to step back. That is
mm.
the biggest, I think, quality that a collaborator must bring onto the table. If you are able to do that, then you will succeed. And I have had the great fortune of collaborating with hundreds and hundreds of great artists, and in the classical field, and in cinema, in compositional spaces, in jazz, with jazz artists, pop artists, what have you. And one of the most wonderful collaborations I had was with George Harrison.
Mm,
Of course, Raviji tops it all because Raviji was a guru, and but I will talk about George because he really loved my tabla, and
mm.
he invited me to play on Brainwashed, his last album, and that day remains etched in my memory. It will remain forever, because he came on board with such incredible humility, and it was such a pleasure to record for him. He knew exactly what needed to be done, and we were in a studio in Henley on Thames, in Dark Horse Studios, and we spent the whole day together. After the recording, we bonded over a meal. He took me around his garden, which was very dear to him. We talked about Indian classical music. We talked about John Lennon, how it changed George. So these moments are they're like gifts from the cosmos to me.
Mm, mm.
And I really feel that I've been incredibly lucky to have had those moments. But yeah, every session on stage or in a studio is unique. It is different from any other session. So you have to come on board with an open heart and open mind, and get on with the job and get on with the flow of things.
Interesting. You performed on some of the world's great stages and different festivals across the world. How different is it to play for a Western or global audience? Uh, you know, let's say in Dubai or New York or Japan versus a Kolkata or Delhi audience. And what have these contrasting reactions taught you?
Well, in general, every audience on one level is the same.
Hmm.
If you connect with the audience, then they respond, and then they learn to metaphorically dance with you.
Hmm.
You need to strike that rapport. Once that is done, then they can be eating out of your hands,
Mm.
wherever that is in the world.
Yeah.
But the way people respond is a bit different. So in India, you will have somebody maybe shouting, "Wah wah, kya baat hai,"
Mm.
or will clap in the middle of a round,
Mm.
which is also exciting. You
Mm.
get egged on. Western audiences normally wait for the piece to end,
Mm.
or a cycle, a movement to end,
Mm.
and then they clap, and then they give you an encore, which is not usual in India.
Yeah.
So there are differences in audience behavior. One thing I certainly like about Western audiences is that they know how to keep quiet. That's really
Very
wonderful.
true.
They
Not so
listen.
true of Indian
Yeah,
audiences.
they listen with a lot of intent, which is very nice. But then India has its own charm, and the audiences are like, wow, wow, Bikram da, wonderful. That is
Mm,
also nice. Kya
mm.
baat hai, bahut acha. So, but yeah, this is the basic difference. Otherwise, it's all the same. You're playing the same music and trying to capture hearts everywhere.
Bikram, this is a good time for a commercial break. But before we break, a brief word about the causes close to my heart. At Money Majlis, we believe in money with impact. So a significant part of the profits that I make from this podcast go into charitable causes that
Wonderful.
are either regional or global. The six causes for this season, season three, are the following: Dubai Cares, Red Crescent, Save the Children, Educate Girls, the Rudy A. Menon Foundation for Cancer Research, and the World Wildlife Fund. My guest today, Bickram Ghosh, has decided to donate his $1,000 gift card to Save the Children. As a listener, you too have the chance to contribute with him. Just visit my website, moneymajlis.com, go to the social impact page and get your free $50 gift card, and then click on a charity you like to ensure that the money goes from me on your behalf to the charity.
In Money Majlis, we talk about making informed money decisions. With Saxo Bank, you get access to global markets from a single advanced trading platform. Stocks, ETFs, Forex, CFDs, commodities, and more. With research and tools right there on the platform, it's easier to make sense of what's moving the markets. Learn more at home.saxo/me.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Network International, the Middle East and Africa's fintech and digital payments champion. We make businesses happen and economies prosper by simplifying commerce and payments. Trusted by over 250 banks, fintechs and telcos, and 240,000 merchants in over 50 countries. We move fintech forward.
The financial world is changing fast. Institutions need to meet the growing client demand for crypto financial services, but they need a battle-tested platform to build upon.
AquaNow is a leading crypto financial services platform, powering incumbent institutions to launch crypto brokerage, payments, and remittance services for their clients, securely and at scale.
Be part of the transformation. Visit aquanow.com today.
The end touches your life.
in more ways than you can imagine.
You want more tech,
More speed.
more convenience,
more entertainment.
more business solutions,
Ian gives you all that.
and so much more.
Ian, go for more.
Your wealth deserves an approach built for tomorrow. Welcome to WealthBricks Capital Partners Limited, where wealth is structured, preserved, and grown through trust. Our approach is holistic and covers private wealth, asset management, and corporate finance. Your wealth deserves more than legacy. It deserves foresight, clarity, and confidence. WealthBricks Capital Partners Limited, an independent and expert wealth management firm, regulated by the DFSA.
Welcome back. In this extra episode of Money Majlis, we are talking today to one of the maestros of Indian classical and fusion music, Bickram Ghosh. Bikram, when your work started getting global recognition, including Grammy nominations for your albums, this Sangeet Academy Award nationally, what did that moment really mean to you, personally and professionally? Did it change the way the world engaged with your music?
Well, the first big uh, break, I would say, again came through Raviji, because the 2002 album Full Circle, where I played tabla with Raviji, won Raviji a Grammy. And I, being the tabla player, his tabla player, I had already played with him for almost a decade then. Uh, I was catapulted into fame
Mm-hmm.
quite suddenly. And those days, playing on a Grammy awarded album was very rare. Now it's much more common, and we've all ended up playing on several albums which have won Grammys or been nominated. But then it was unique, and to play with Raviji, who was one of the greatest musical icons of the world, and his album getting a Grammy and me playing with him really gave me a fillip, and I think that helped a lot that came thereafter in terms of even my fusion work. When people were sponsoring me or helping me to put my ideas onto a stage, then the fact that I had played with Raviji on Full Circle and that it had got a Grammy was a big thing. So I think that was the first one. And then, of course, I played on George's album, Brainwashed, as I told you, which came out. And that also, then I had played on Anushka's albums, which were nominated. And eventually, I myself did work with Girish Malik's films, which has got us Oscar contentions 3 times now. And then, of course, the Sangeet Natak Academy is the highest honor for music in the country, which is a huge, prestigious award. And it certainly boosted my own confidence and my own uh, esteem, self-esteem. And then for the film music, I've won 2 Filmfare awards, and a lot of I've been lucky. I've been people have been kind to my work, and for all the areas that I worked in, be it I got a global I got three 4 global music awards, and I got a very early recognition from Music of the World in America uh, in the 90s when I was working as a tabla player on various international projects. So these things have helped. I will not deny that they gave me the confidence, and the awards coming in, recognitions coming in for all the facets of work I was doing. That also helped because then I was getting more confident even as a composer of cinema because I got some big awards there as well. So yeah, I mean, I think God has been kind.
But Bikram, these awards, also come with a lot of pressure. Labels like Grammy nominated, Oscar nominated.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, does that national and international spotlight make you feel boxed in, or does it actually give you more courage to experiment?
Gives me more courage to experiment. Actually, I uh, mm, I have felt boxed in at some junctures in my life,
Mm,
but I'm very quick to recalibrate.
mm,
And that is something, as I said, I learned from my father.
mm, mm,
He was very brave, and I think I've turned my career around several times, and I still continue to do so,
mm,
even with the curatorial work that I'm doing now. That's again something a completely different skill set is required for that.
mm, mm.
So I enjoy doing that, and I don't dwell on fear. I feel the fear, but I do it anyway.
Mm. Excellent. Let's move to film music now.
Sure.
It's a very different beast, as we all know. There's a story, there's character, there's pacing, there's producer expectations. How do you work with producers and directors like Arundham Sheil, like Girish Malik? How do you work together to find the musical language of a film? And in what ways does Kolkata's unique artistic energy seep into those scores?
Okay, so I have to speak about the most important thing here, which has contributed to my film career.
Hmm.
That is the master's degree I have in English literature.
Okay.
Because of that study
Mm.
of literature, of language, of story, understanding stories, short stories, uh, you know, novels, I understand script quite well.
Mm.
That is what all my directors have said. And they always get me for a script reading
Okay.
because they want me to, point out. Even my wife, Joya, she says, that because she's an actor and she's
Bharatanatyam dancer as well.
as well as a Bharatanatyam dancer. So she has always said to me, you have a unique idea of script.
Mm.
So because the idea of script is so clear,
Mm.
because of the study of literature and the subsequent reading that I have done and still do, I also understand how to interpret musically the script. So you have to understand uh, one of the issues I had in early days is that in India, when you say scoring for a film, it's primarily traditionally been regarded as scoring songs for a film. It has been there's been much less progress in India to do with background
Background
scoring.
score, unlike the Western world.
Yeah. So that is the area that I really felt that I could contribute to because I understood the script and the background scoring has many people have told me that I've brought about quite a change in how backgrounds are scored. Even with Girish's Jal, when we did that in 2013, me and Sonu Nigam did it together.
Yeah.
And then with Arindam's films, and then with Dhruvo's films, then with Shubhrajit's films, Shuman Ghosh's films, and many, many films. I've done over 60 now. And I think that's what I'm bringing to the table. It's not just song composition, which personally I think is the easier part. But to understand a film, its setting, its and camera, and then to interpret it musically requires the understanding of script and sahitya, literature. And that I think is the greatest advantage I have.
And are you doing a lot of work with Bollywood as well?
I don't live in Mumbai, so a lot of the Bollywood directors complain that if you were living here, we would love to work with you, but my clause is please come to Kolkata and work with me, and that's what happens most of the time. So it's not a lot, but I do let's say one film a year in Bollywood, and be it Girish's film or I'm working. Tawfiq Qureshi ji and myself are doing a Telugu film now. Very interesting film. So different language films are also happening. I scored for Girish Malik's Mahamantra, which is a brilliant documentary. Again, Oscar contention. But yeah, Bollywood, I like to work in movies which give me some kind of process, a challenge, something that utilizes my skill sets.
Yeah.
I don't want to just do something banal and just jump around in that whole world of Bollywood composition where it's frankly for me I feel a lot of it is limiting in a way because you end up doing what the trends are dictating.
Yeah.
And I do not think that we should listen to trends. I think we should set the trends.
Excellent. Bikram, on this show, we often say that talent is necessary, but not sufficient. It's true for businesses, true for
Of
startups,
course.
true for everything in life. At what point in your journey did you realize that you also have to think like an entrepreneur, not just like an artist?
Well, that happened when I uh, started my fusion career, my career as a solo artist, as in I had my own band, I had different setups, I had different kind of musical uh, collaborations,
Yeah.
which I started doing. So I realized that you had to sell your product. It sounds horrible, but it's the way of the world, and you have to accept it. If you do not make a name, if you are unable to sell whatever you believe in, the first step is to make it the music you believe in, for me at least, then to learn how to reach the maximum number of people with it, and to have people back you for your next projects also. So you need to be able to sell and to understand the business aspect of it also. And without that, you cannot garner a name for yourself. And if you don't have a name, then you will not get many opportunities. You will lose many opportunities to people who are less talented but more famous. So you have to play the game to some extent. And once you've done that, and once the ball is rolling, so to say, then you can really push the line and you can say, okay, I've done this, done that. Now I want to do this, and this is something my heart wants to do, and please allow me. And then people have already started believing in you by then. So they let you do those things.
Now, many artists are uncomfortable talking about money. You've been quite vocal about the need for financial independence and ownership.
Yes.
How do you personally think about fees, royalties, rights, and long-term IP when you sign a project today?
Well, it's very interesting that you asked me that. way back in 2001, when I made my first album, Rhythmscape,
Mm.
I did not sell it to Sony Music. I licensed it.
Mm.
And subsequently, 80% of the music that I've made, uh, independent albums,
Mm.
I own. I
Mm.
have licensed almost everything.
Mm.
So the money comes back to me today, and I own my own work. So I can use that in permutations, combinations, in shows without having to worry that somebody is going to, strike a claim. So
Mm.
that is very important, and I owe that to a very dear friend of mine called Bob Haddad, who was a great music producer. He's still a wonderful friend. Bob had taught me, how to keep my own intellectual property and my works early in the day, in around 2000, 2001. And subsequently, many friends helped me to understand this world. And today in India also, we are all reaping the benefits of, getting royalties from IPRS, PRS, also publishing royalties, etc. So that is a very big area to understand, that you are an entrepreneur. You're not just a musician, you're also an entrepreneur. And if you do not think of yourself like that, nobody is going to think of you like that. And if they don't think of you like that, on some level, they will take you for a ride.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So do you think artists are being treated fairly today in India?
More fairly than before.
Okay.
More fairly than before. But because, a lot of the laws have changed, today you will have a certain artistic royalty coming your way, even if you have signed it off. That
Mm.
Javed Akhtarji and people like Sonu Nigam and all had really worked hard to pass that law in
Mm.
2012. And now more is happening. Uh, uh, you know, there are many bodies who protect artists' rights,
Mm.
unlike in the older days when there was hardly anything. So we're getting there. We're not there like the West even yet, but we are getting there.
Bikram, the music business today is driven by streaming platforms, algorithms, and social media. As someone rooted in tradition, how do you personally navigate this new world of playlists, metrics, and virality?
Shubho, both you and I have seen it from the LP records.
Correct.
We used to be, as kids, we used to wait for the radio shows.
Yep.
We saw the advent of television. We saw we used to beg our parents to buy us LP records. And then came the era of cassettes. Then came the era of CDs. And now it's all on the streaming platforms. So,
Correct.
so many changes. And
Mm.
through my own career, I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, my first album that came out was a cassette,
Mm.
and then CDs, and now it's on streaming. So you have to learn to navigate.
Mm.
If you do not, then you will become redundant. Your
Mm.
talent will not be questioned, but how can you not know how to sell in an era which requires you to be abreast of all these new technological, uh, knowledge points? You have to know that. Otherwise, you cannot be relevant anymore. It's a hard world out there. It's a difficult world out there. You have to learn to understand algorithms. You have to learn, and at the same time, I'm not saying that you have to compromise your musicality at all. I continue to do what I like to do, but
Mm.
I also have a team of youngsters who work with me, and they advise me on, Bikram da, this is not going to get you the numbers. If you promote it like this, you'll get the numbers. And so you have to understand it. I mean, what choice do you have? I mean, the choice is not to understand it and for the album to fail.
Mhm. So
You
you
don't want
find
that.
so you find the right balance between creative conviction and data-driven decision
Oh,
making.
totally. That's been the story
You
of my
have to do
life.
that.
It's the story of my life. I, I
Mm.
I did not do a lot of work in Bollywood out of choice, because I
Mm.
realized that if you do that, then you will end up making music for people who will drive your creativity in a
Mm.
certain direction.
Mm.
And you will not be independent, and you will not have your own personal legacy.
Mm.
I think that's one of the reasons that Arijit has opted out of Bollywood, to
Mm.
create his personal legacy.
Interesting. Now, there's a good segue, Vikram, to ask you about AI. There's a lot of debate now about AI-generated music, and composers being replaced by machines. As a creator of rhythm and emotion, how do you view AI? As a threat, as a tool, or just another chapter in the evolution of music?
For me, AI is not a threat at all. It's certainly a tool.
Hmm.
Ever since the onset of AI, with God's grace, I have not lost work.
Hmm.
I've gained work. I think people are veering more and more towards live music.
Hmm.
Musicians who are able to give a holistic experience on stage,
Hmm.
they are being more and more heralded and regarded.
Hmm.
And in the studio, the kind of work I do, people come to me with a certain specific skill set that they want to employ.
Hmm.
And there, uh, my kind of work, AI has not yet penetrated into some it's not become a big monster that we have to really adhere to. But certainly, I can use a lot of the tools which help. Even with guiding on how to get a better algorithm,
Hmm.
and even sometimes on the odd occasion with lyrics or references. But I do only original music. I do not copy anybody's music, at least consciously never. And I don't rely on AI at all to make my music,
Hmm.
other than the fact that a little help here and there.
Let's move from AI to Tagore. You were telling me earlier that you're doing some curation work on some of the Tagore music with a German orchestra.
See, I am composing six of Tagore's. I'm taking six of Tagore's songs and composing the orchestra around it.
Hmm.
The person who has brought me this project is a wonderful singer called Kamolini Mukherjee, who is the curator of the Duisburg Festival
Hmm.
in Germany. And the Duisburg Festival authorities wanted me to compose for the orchestra and create the soundscape which they felt, and along with Kamolini, they felt that I could do justice to it.
Hmm.
And it's been a brilliant project. It's been a fantastic and satisfying process. And now we're looking to start rehearsals in Germany sometime in May, and then do our first show in July. So that's been a wonderful project, and I'm very excited because this is my first foray into orchestration.
Hmm.
Actual 100-piece orchestra.
And will this come out with the album later?
Yes, it does. That's the other good side to it. We are planning on recording all of this and bringing it out both as a CD and a DVD. DVDs don't CDs and
Existing.
DVDs
Yeah.
don't exist, but
Yeah.
uh, the reason I said that is that they still do in Europe,
Hmm.
and we are looking at bringing out a CD,
But it'll be on streaming, of
of
course.
course, on streaming as well.
Look forward to hearing that for sure.
Thank you.
And tell us what work you're doing with the Venice Biennale.
Well, I have been music curator for Southeast Asia's biggest festival, Serendipity Festival,
Hmm.
which is held in Goa every year in December. So the 4 years that I've been curator of music, I have really uh, realized a lot of my visions and dreams, and I have felt validated by the response I've got. And so Serendipity is one of the producers of the music part of the Venice Biennale and the artistic part of Venice Biennale, and they have invited me. The government of India is also involved, and Nita and Mukesh Ambani Center is also involved. So I worked with all of them extensively. So they have asked me to be the first artistic director of the first season of curation, which is in May this year.
Interesting.
So it's a huge honor, and it's again, as I say, I like to say that it's a validation for me because I probably have done something right that they want me to do this. So I'm going to be taking 25, 30 artists from India to Venice in May, and one of the big shows I'm doing is called Glorious India.
Shifting gear, Vikram, where do you think about legacy? Not in a grand, narcissistic way, but in a real grounded sense. What would you like the name Bikram Ghosh to stand for 30, 40, 50 years from now?
I have a very simple two-word uh, thought in my head. And those two words are true music.
Excellent.
That's also a thought in my head for a company or a project in the future.
Called True Music.
True music. And many might think of it as a cliche, but I know what true music means to me. It means uh, strong melody, good rhythms, improvisation, skilled musicians, and music that moves and changes people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would like to uh, hopefully stand for.
What a wonderful thought. You're increasingly working, Bikram, with younger musicians
Yes.
and mentees. What are one or two non-technical things beyond tals and techniques that you're most keen to pass on to them?
One of the things is, of course, energy.
Mm-hmm.
I am extremely excitable even today.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the youngsters come to me and they're like, how are you so excited after being in the profession for 40 years? You know, but I am supremely excited at the prospect of a concert, prospect of a recording, of a new project. And I think that stems from gratitude
Mm-hmm.
that I was allowed in this life, or I am allowed in this life to realize my musical dreams. And that I think is a huge blessing. So to feel that way and not to be threatened constantly by the pressure of creating music is something I would like to pass on to youngsters, because I see a lot of them suffering from pressure. Oh my God, I have to, win this competition. I have to be up there and beat that person to achieve that, That I would really like to communicate to them, that, you know, be yourself and try to uh, achieve something on your own terms and do your own best. Don't constantly think about comparisons and stress yourself out with goals which are, frankly, for me, not even goals.
Mm-hmm. Your music school, NAD, where we're sitting today for this interview, is a very tangible expression of your commitment to the next generation. So well done on that. Tell us, what was the original vision behind NAD and how do you see it shaping not just good performers, but well-rounded human beings?
Well, you know of the phrase Nada Brahma.
Mm-hmm.
So sound is God.
Yeah.
So that's why we called uh, this institution, this building, NAD. But of course, it is an offshoot of the Bickram Ghosh Academy of Performing Arts, the BGAPA,
Mm-hmm.
where the central thought is to create performing artists.
Mm-hmm.
And what we are looking at doing is to create a holistic platform from beginning to starting them off on a career. So start with great training, inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
great gurus, helping them create relationships with gurus, like the Guru Shishya Parampara is
Mm-hmm.
relationship based,
Yeah.
and then giving them opportunities on stage, giving them opportunity. We host a lot of concerts every year,
Yeah.
and giving them recording opportunities through the company we have called Eternal Sounds, which is Utsav Parekh, Mayank Jalan, Gaurang Jalan, and myself. And we are giving a lot of youngsters opportunities,
Mm.
and then to also give them set them on the journey, helping them with collaborations through mentorship programs, etc., etc. So these are thoughts, and we're transforming them into reality, and to eventually be able to give them a degree, a diploma, which is something a lot of people desire
Mm-hmm.
for that validation, that I have a degree.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be holistic. I see musical careers having the need to be holistic, because a lot of people they're clueless about how to make a musical career. They love
Mm.
music, they love to sing, play, but they don't know what to do to get there and make a profession out of it.
Mm.
That's what we are trying to help with
So if one of those
also.
youngsters, let's say 20-year-old musician, came to you and said, Bikram, I want to build a sustainable global career in music without losing my soul, what would your honest, no-nonsense advice be to him or her?
Great question again. I mean, see, the good thing today is you can produce your own music.
Mm.
and you can put it out there. Before you needed a music company.
Correct.
So you would have to go to one of the top companies and say, will you listen to my music and will you be convinced? Will you give me a break and all of that? But today you can just put it out there on your own.
Correct.
And if the music is good, there is a chance that you can go viral with it. That's a big gift, So everybody can actually publish their own music. I would nevertheless say, please learn first. Knowledge is the key to a long career. Otherwise, you'll be a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Then practice. Riyaz is the key to a long career. And third, build relationships with humility and try to build some charm, because you need charm to be on stage. Your audience must like you also. You can't have zero charm in today's world and expect everybody to kind of just go gaga over whatever you're doing. You have to have all those skill sets. I mean, take Raviji, for example. I mean, what incredible charm. Take Zakir Bhai, for example. I mean, all the great artists have had that quality, most of them at least. So I think, yes, and don't stop dreaming. I mean, your dreams are the cue to what the future holds.
Very well said, Bickram. Time now for a closing rapid fire round of questions.
Sure.
The rules are very simple. 5 seconds to think, 30 seconds to answer, and the first answer that comes to your mind is the correct answer, right?
Okay.
No overthinking. Starting now. One word to describe the tabla.
Versatile.
A collaboration that you dream of that hasn't still happened.
I would love to work with somebody who I will never be able to work with. That is Kishore Kumar.
Okay. Would love to see that work.
I would have really, it's my dream, but it's not going to happen.
Unfortunately.
I'm a Kishore Bhakt.
And so am I. The one raga or rhythm cycle you can never get bored of.
Bhairavi. The raga. The rhythmic cycle is, everybody would say teen tal, but I am very fascinated by a particular cycle, especially in the classical sense, and that is 9 beats. It is called Nasruk or Matatal. I really love this cycle, and I have done a lot of work on it, including a popular song with Sonu Nigam.
I must check that out. Your favorite city to perform in, apart from Kolkata?
London.
Really? One non-musical habit or hobby that keeps you sane?
Reading. And I like to take life lessons from books. That's there. One more thing, I love to give adda with my school friends.
A Tolly club every morning, yes.
Tolly every morning.
If you weren't a musician, Bickram, what would you most likely be doing?
A professor of literature.
Really?
Yes, I love literature.
The most unusual place or situation where you've composed or you've practiced?
In the loo.
Really?
Yeah.
At your home?
At home.
And that happens every day?
And not every day, but off and on I have composed. I don't practice in the loo, but I do compose in the loo.
One piece of advice that you got early in your life that you cheerfully ignore?
All right, so this is a big one. I was told, do not step out and experiment so much. It will be the undoing of you. I didn't listen, and it was the doing of me.
Bickram Ghosh, tabla maestro, versatile artist, youth icon. Thank you for your time today. It's been a truly enriching conversation. What stands out for me, Bickram, is how intentionally you've navigated this musical journey, not just as a passive recipient of opportunities, but as an active architect of your art, your brand, and indeed your life. I think for our listeners in banking, fintech, business, and beyond, there are powerful parallels here. The parallels to me are the courage to leave the comfort zone, the discipline to master your craft, the maturity to think about money and ownership, and the humility, like you said, to keep learning from collaborators across cultures and generations. Bickram, any last comments for our listeners?
I'm going to say this and I mean this. This is one of the best interviews I've done. And I have done interviews for 40 years now.
Thank you.
This is one of the best because the questions you asked me were so introspective. you know who I am, and you know exactly what to ask of me. And I think in that lies the nugget to extracting wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we're searching for,
Absolutely.
wisdom. And it has been an absolute pleasure doing this interview. And I think you've allowed me to say a lot of things which are more than the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you, Bickram. Thank you. This is because I love music and I love your music.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Saxo Bank, the trusted European bank helping you make better investment decisions.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Network International, the leading digital payments technology company in the Middle East and Africa.
Money Majlis is proudly supported by Aqua Now, the premier crypto as a service provider, now building in partnership with the top financial institutions in the Middle East. Discover more at aquanow.com.
Money Majlis is brought to you by E&, a global technology group. Money Majlis is proudly sponsored by WealthBricks Capital Partners Limited, the trusted, independent, and expert wealth management firm.
And to all of you, if you enjoyed this episode, do subscribe, rate, and share it with someone who's trying to build a meaningful creative career in any field. Until next time, this is Suvo Sarkar signing off from this little corner of Kolkata's musical universe, wishing you clarity in your decisions, courage in your experiments, and joy in your own unique rhythm. Stay well, play well, and do good.